All right, if you have not already, take a seat, your choice. You can sit in hero's pose, you can sit cross-legged, whatever's gonna feel most comfortable to you. We're gonna be here for about 3 to 5 minutes, just centering ourselves. Just kind of wiggle around in your seat to begin. Start to become grounded. Take a nice deep inhale. And sigh it out. Allow yourself to come into the room, onto your mat, and into your body. Starting to allow yourself to notice your surroundings. Inviting all that is around you to be part of the experience today in this practice. Bringing awareness to the present moment. Taking another deep inhale here. And let it go. Start to check in physically, scanning over the body here, checking in. A lot of the targets, we're going to target those joints, so our hips, our knees, the spine. Just check in with those areas, see how they're feeling today. Starting to build that awareness. And take a deep inhale again. And let it go. Start to check in mentally, emotionally. Acknowledge the week that it's been. Acknowledge the day that it's been. Give everything that's popping around in your head some validity. But then see if you can let it go. See if you can let go of those things that are not going to serve you today, that are going to be a distraction. They're going to pull your awareness away from your body and your breath. Just give them a little loving kindness and imagine them floating away in a bubble or on a cloud outside the four walls you're in. Just really allowing yourself to focus on your breath and your body while you're here on your mat today. Take a full inhale here. Take as much air as you can in. Hold it for a moment. Imagine gathering in all of those things that are not going to serve you. And then forcefully let that go. Sigh them out. Let them go. Just start to settle into the stillness. Start to gather the attention at the tip of your nose. And notice the air entering and leaving from the tip of the nose. Becoming more aware at the tip of your nose. Noticing the sensations of the air as it enters and as it leaves. And starting to connect a little bit more with that awareness of our breath. Imagine every time you're inhaling, you only feel the sensation of air on the right side as you inhale. And as you exhale, you only feel the sensation of air on your left side. See if you can visualize that and start to sense it in your body. Inhaling through the right nostril, exhaling through the left. Your hands remain on your lap. You're just visualizing that sensation of air into the right nostril and the exhale of air out the left nostril. And after your next full round of breaths, switch directions. Imagine the inhale coming through the left nostril and the exhale going through the right nostril. And after your last round of exhale there, start to inhale and exhale again through both nostrils, noticing the sensation in both. The air going in both and out both. Just notice how your mind can really direct that awareness to any body part and really feel the sensations as you focus in on that. So today during your practice, try to build that directed awareness toward any areas that feel discomfort, any areas you want to go a little deeper. Use your breath, guide that breath there to help bring the blood flow, the energy, to help release any blockages that are happening in the practice. Exhale fully here. Let those eyes blink open. Keeping that attention of awareness, you're going to slowly transition to your back. As you make your way to your back, having yourself open up over something. It can be over a bolster, over a block, but having the sensation of opening up the chest. So your hips will be on the floor. Your body can be over blocks. It can be over a blanket. It can be over blanket and blocks, whatever is going to feel best to you. Start to transition to set yourself up for that. So there's many options. I'm going with one block under my chest and then one block under my head. Just laying back, opening the chest there. And depending on how your neck feels, you can drop your head and just let it release back to the floor. You can keep it propped up on something. Knees are going to stay bent. Just keeping it nice and open in for the chest, not going down into the low back yet. And then once you're on that bolster, kind of wiggle around a little bit, find your spot where you're going to feel the openness across the chest, and then press into those feet, lift your hips, and then drop the hips back down. Your knees can either stay upright toward the ceiling, or maybe you widen the feet apart from one another and let those knees knock in toward one another. And start to tune in to those sensations that are happening on the front side of the body. And then take a big inhale here. And let it go. Settling in here. If you feel like you want to take this deeper, arms can go wider. Arms can even go back up overhead. That's going to open the chest a little bit more. Be mindful of any pinching sensations in the shoulders here. You don't want to pinch your shoulders. You don't want your hands to fall asleep. So go to where you can go to your edge to feel comfortable. And start to settle in. Find that stillness. Bring that awareness to the body. Noticing those areas that are opening up on the front side. Noticing those areas that are compressing on the back side. Notice where you can release any bit of muscular contraction or tension. Using that breath, guiding that breath there to help those areas release. Maybe it's your neck or your jaw, shoulders or back. Just dropping in. Maybe find your mind wandering, going away from the body. Maybe start to bring it back to the tip of your nose. Staying with the sensations in the body, however little and nuanced they are. About 1 more minute here in this pose. Take a nice deep inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to make your way up to seated. So maybe draw those knees up toward the ceiling. Press the hands in by your side. Press into those elbows. Draw the chin to the chest. And then slide the hands back toward your chest a little bit more and then press into the hands, pressing yourself up. Pausing here for a moment. Just noticing the sensations in the upper back. And from here, we're going to transition onto our hands and knees. Have some padding under your knees. You're going to maybe want that. We're going to come into a low lunge eventually. Maybe having some props near your hands. So just come to hands and knees to begin. And just do a couple rounds of cat-cow, bringing some motion into that spine a little bit. Little counter pose for that opening we did. Maybe stay in that rounded position, a couple breaths. Counteracting what we just did. And then as you're ready, you're going to take your right foot, step it forward. And then you're going to let those hips kind of drop forward. So you have a couple options depending on how this front leg is feeling. If you want to get a little bit more into the front ankle, you're going to slide that foot back a little bit to let that knee kind of come forward. So that's going to get into the ankle region a little bit more, having that knee go past your foot. I know a lot of times we say don't do that, but if you're targeting it and you have an intention to do it, it's okay. But if you feel too much pressure, you might want to move the knee forward. And then just kind of wiggle that back leg back to let those hips drop down. Let that back toe uncurl. And just let yourself kind of settle in here. So you have a couple options, hands on blocks, like mine's on a block right now. Maybe elbows go to a block, maybe hands to floor. So we're targeting the hips here. We're targeting the ankle if your knee is coming a little bit forward of your toes. And you might either feel it in the front side, depending if there's compression there on bone, or you might feel it on the back side where you feel that tension of the Achilles maybe going into the calf. And just settle in with those sensations. See if you can let those hips relax. Maybe you can use your arm bones, stacking those arm bones into the shoulders, letting those arm bones go into the shoulder socket to allow your upper body to relax a little. And if you want to target the spine a little bit, maybe that head drops down and that chin comes toward your chest, targeting the upper back. So you have different edges you can play with, settling into what's going to feel best to you. We're going to be here for about another 2 minutes. And again, you can always back out of it if you feel like you've gone too deep. So coming into this position of the swan. No, sorry, this is the dragon, not the swan, the dragon. Getting used to all the new names when it comes to yin. Just notice if you're gripping anywhere, if you're trying to hold on muscularly. And if you're doing that because you feel some type of pain or sharpness, you might be going too deep. And if you're just doing that out of habit, see if you can relax and really get into the joints, get into those connective tissues of the ligaments and tendons. Take a nice full inhale here and let it go. Slowly start to move yourself back. Shift those hips back. Slide that left or right knee down. And then your choice, you can sit back on your heels, maybe find child's pose. Whatever's going to feel best to you. Take a couple moments there. Child's pose sometimes feels good to bring that left hip back together, that hip flexor that's been extended. Letting it draw back in. Especially if you're getting into the ankle on the right side, that's going to feel good to point that toe. And then when you're ready, coming back forward, maybe do a couple rounds of cat-cow again, if that's going to feel good to you. And then as you're ready, taking that left foot, stepping it forward. Letting your hips drop forward. And again, if you want to target that ankle, you want to slide that foot back just a little bit so that you can drop those hips forward more. So that ankle has a little bit more of a deeper flexion. You're going to feel some compression on the front side, some tension on the back side. And then start to deepen into the hips. Maybe walk that back leg back a little bit, letting those hips drop forward. And then finding your edge so you're feeling the hips, the knee, the ankle. Trying to stack your bones so that your shoulders can feel stable and not having to carry too much tension. Drawing those arm bones back into their sockets, into the shoulder sockets. Letting your weight rest into your arms, into your hips. And then connect with the breath, noticing the sensations that are happening in the body. Trying to settle into stillness. The dragons are hard to do that. Creates a little bit more fire than we're used to in our yin practice. A little different type of discomfort. And trying to just breathe through the discomfort again. If there's any pain, any stabbing sensations, any numbness, you're probably going a little too deep and you should back out of it a little bit. Maybe walking the foot forward into a extended low lunge. Continue to breathe. Just continue to scan the body. Notice those sensations. Notice when the edge has dissipated and can you go deeper. Notice if you're gripping and if you can relax the muscles. About 1 more minute in this pose. See if you can keep your awareness on the body. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start making your way back. Very slowly. No rush. And then again, taking whatever pose is going to feel best to you. Child's pose, sitting on your heels. And just pause there. Notice the rebound of the pose, the effects of the pose. And then taking some time, maybe they're doing another cat-cow round or two. Maybe even pressing back into downward dog to lengthen those legs out a little bit. Whatever's going to feel best to you. Take about 3 or 4 breaths to find some counter movements to that stillness. Whatever's going to feel natural in your body. And then from here, we're going to make our way onto our bellies into Sphinx pose. So bring along any props that you need to for Sphinx. I usually like a little bolster under my sternum as I come down to my elbows. You may even want blocks. Come down onto your belly. And I just like to have that bolster under my sternum. It just helps not go too deep into my back and gives my shoulders a little bit of support so I can rest down onto something so there's not too much tension in my shoulders. So from here, let those legs kind of flop out. Let your heels drop out so it's not an active Sphinx. You're letting those heels drop out, kind of rock your hips a little bit from side to side. And if you're noticing that you want a little bit more edge, you can always prop your elbows up on a pillow, on a bolster. So that's just going to lift your chest a little bit more. Find that position that's going to be comfortable for your shoulders. Your hands can even come together. They can be palms up, palms down. And then your head can maybe rest on something. Or if it feels okay for your neck, maybe your chin drops down to your chest, getting into the neck. So we're targeting here the spine, specifically the low back. A little bit of the shoulders is going to be targeted. You're just going to round down if you want to target the neck, chin toward your chest. Letting yourself kind of sink toward the floor a little bit. And settling in. See if you can allow those shoulder blades to draw together any little bit. So those arm bones kind of stack into the shoulder socket. Notice if you're gripping any muscles in your legs, see if you can let them go. And if you want to go any deeper into your back, maybe you press into those hands and just kind of straighten the arms, letting those shoulder blades come onto the back, so coming up into seal pose. Arms can go wider if you need to. That's just going to target the low back a little bit more. You might have some pressure in the pubic bone from this, so be mindful that that's not too painful. If you've straightened your arms, go ahead and bring those elbows back down. Adjust yourself, we're going to be here a little bit longer. And then if it feels okay, see how it feels to bend one leg at a time. So that your knees bend and your toes are going to reach to the ceiling. And then you're going to knock your feet together. So your knees are wide and your feet touch. And see if you start to grip your glutes. See if you can relax them. And let those feet just kind of touch together, just targeting the low back a little differently. releasing those legs back down. You might want to have something in front of you for your head. We're going to add in just a little something new, a shoulder stretch. Be very mindful if your shoulders do not feel good in this, don't do it. Go back to Sphinx, maybe even go to Child's Pose. But we're going to take our left arm and we're going to slide it underneath us toward the right. So your palm can be up or down, whatever's going to feel best for your body. And then your right arm, you have a couple options. You can reach it forward and rest your head on a block or a pillow. Or you can take that right arm, if it's okay for your shoulders, slide it toward the left. So you kind of cross your arms in front of you. And then rest your head down on the block or on your arms. So double is going to be a lot more intense. Single is going to be less intense. So the right arm would reach forward if it's too much to cross it. But let your head rest on something. We're going to be here just for about 2 minutes. So settle in. So this is getting into all those little connective tissues behind the shoulder blades. Into the shoulders, so those connective tissues that keep our shoulder nice and healthy. Keeping it secure and stable. Just giving them a little bit of lubrication. You can play with the edge here by either turning the palms up, which tends to reduce the edge, or rotating the palms down, which tends to increase the edge for me. About 30 more seconds here. Slowly lifting the head. Slide your right elbow underneath you. Slide your left elbow underneath you. Pause there for a moment. Notice those sensations in the shoulders. And then we'll switch sides. So this time the right arm is going to slide underneath you first. See how that feels. Maybe left arm extends forward. Or maybe that left arm extends to the right. And again, palms up to start. Let that head settle down. Get any wiggles out and then kind of adjust the hands, finding your edge. And always being mindful that there's no tingling, there's no sharp pains. This is not the time for no pain, no gain. Should feel some discomfort, but no pain. Feeling as a lengthening, a stretching, maybe a little tension, but no pain. And taking a big inhale here. Let it go. Slowly slide that left elbow underneath you. Slide the right elbow underneath you. Pause there for a moment. And then if there's anything underneath your sternum, slide that out. Come all the way down onto your belly. Rest your head on your hands or on the floor and draw your right knee up and out toward the side, bending that knee. Just releasing through the low back. Take a few breaths there. Looking toward the right. And then sliding that right leg back down by your side. Turn your head to the left. Bring that left knee out to the side. Take a few breaths there. And sliding that left leg down, come back to center. Slide the hands by your side. Press back to hands and knees. And then your choice if you want to go into a child's pose, a cat-cow, whatever's going to feel best to you to counter that pose. Go slowly if you're going into child's pose. And breathe into the back side of your body. Notice those sensations along the spine, into the shoulders. And then slowly start to make your way up. We're going to go into saddle pose, which is hero's pose, but we're going to recline. So you have options. If sitting on your heels isn't fun, you can prop yourself up on a block so you have more access for your legs. You can even do one leg at a time. So you can start with your right leg bent, and then after about 3 minutes, you can switch to the other side. You want to either stay upright, or you can start to recline back. If you're going to recline back, you're going to want to have some props back behind you so that you can lean back onto them. It might be blocks, it might be blankets, whatever is going to be best for you. So start to settle in. So again, we're targeting the knees, the ankles, the hips. You have one leg or two leg. I'll let you know when it's been about 2.5 minutes to switch to the other side if you're keeping one leg straight. And then start to lean back. Just notice how that feels. You might need to add in some props. And just lean back. So again, we're going to target a little bit of the low back here, that spine. And you can lift your hips and let yourself kind of let those knees splay out a little bit. The knees do not have to be straight in line, so listen to what your body does. Your knees don't even have to touch the ground here. They might be hovering. As long as there's no pain, you're fine. And then just notice how it feels. Maybe you lay back. Maybe your head rests on a block. Maybe it rolls all the way back. Again, if you don't really have any supports under the back, if you don't need that, You can take your arms up overhead and reach them back. You can even do that if you're on the supports, but again, be mindful that you're not gonna pinch any nerves in the arms, they don't fall asleep. You might wanna take your arms like cactus arms. That's gonna open up the chest a little bit more. Targeting the spine, the shoulders. Just notice those sensations, kind of scan over, notice what's standing out the most to you, which one's at its edge, and start to bring that awareness there, that directed awareness of your breath, of your intention. See if you can notice that edge start to lessen. And then notice where another place starts to talk to you. And bring your awareness to that space. And be mindful of the low back, as we spent a long time in that Sphinx pose. So if the low back is talking to you, just prop yourself up a little bit more rather than reclining as much. And see if you can just settle into stillness, into the awareness of those sensations as your body becomes more and more still. Give another like 30 seconds or so here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Come back up, slide those elbows by your side, press down into those elbows, bring the chin to the chest, press yourself up onto the elbows, wiggle them back, press into the hands, press yourself up. Maybe lean to one side and draw those ankles in, bringing the other leg in, and then just pausing, either legs crossed or legs extended. Ooh. Just notice those sensations through the spine, the knees, the ankles. So we've done a lot of extending and opening of the spine. We're now going to start to flex it and round it forward. Do little counters. Move your ankles and knees in any ways that are going to feel good to you right now. And we're gonna make our way to a wide open, a wide-legged forward fold. So again, if you need to, you can always prop yourself up on something underneath your hips if you find that you're too rounded into the low back. I usually like to just place a little bit of something under my hips just so my pelvis does round forward. Legs are gonna flop out. You can make them as wide or as narrow as you need them. If this is still too uncomfortable in the low back, you can always come into long-legged butterfly, right? So your knees are bent. There's just gonna be a little bit more target of the knees in this one. If you don't wanna have that target of your knees, keep the legs straight. And then having any props you need in front of you, you're just gonna start to round forward. As you round forward, keep those legs relaxed. Just rounding forward. You're gonna feel that tightness in the low back a little bit because we're flexing, we're extending the low back, but we're flexing our upper back, rounding forward. And then you might even start to feel the backs of the legs, the backs of the knees, those ligaments and tendons. You might even feel it down into the ankles. Just start to round forward. Maybe your head rests on something. Maybe your neck's feeling okay, so you start to round and draw your chin in toward your chest. Just rounding forward, letting gravity take you down. Just notice what it feels like to breathe a little bit deeper into the back body. Noticing that constriction in the front body. Our front body's been very opened, and now we're constricting it. And we're allowing some openness and length in the back body. Again, just keeping that awareness on the body. Notice what's talking to you the most, what body part, what area. You can use that directed awareness with your breath. And just focus on it for a few breaths. Seeing if that edge can dissipate until another part in your body talks to you a little bit more. And then take your awareness there. Once all parts are kind of equal, maybe deepen your edge and go through that again. Settling into that stillness. About 1 more minute or so here. Bringing your awareness back to the body, the sensations happening. breath. Maybe even finding a new edge for this last minute. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to curl your spine up. Use your arms to help yourself. All the way back up. Pausing there, maybe slide those legs in. Just notice the effects of the pose. Then taking some time, maybe rolling the ankles a little bit, maybe massaging the knees, maybe rocking those legs from side to side. If you feel like you need to lean back into your hands to open the chest, whatever's going to feel good for your movement here. Coming out of stillness for a little bit. From here, we're going to transition either into supported shoulder stand with something underneath your hips and legs going up to the ceiling, or you could do legs up the wall if you have a wall nearby. And that's going to feel a little bit more comfortable to you to let those legs relax. I'm going to go with the supported shoulder stand. And you can have it as high or as low as you'd like, whatever's going to feel best. I'm just going to take a blanket on that bolster. And then lay back or slide that underneath your hips, whatever is going to be best for you. And then set yourself up so you're not going to fall off, so you're not going to roll too far. Maybe even draw those shoulder blades onto the back a little bit. And then start to bend one knee at a time toward your chest, and then taking those legs up toward the ceiling. Letting those feet knock into one another, or maybe even just the big toes. Just feeling a little reverse flow of those legs. Having the wall there is going to be a little bit nicer for you. But again, we're just going to target the low back, maybe a little bit into the shoulders. We're going to be here for about 3 or 4 minutes. If it becomes too much, you can always bring your feet down and do a little supported bridge. See if you can draw your chin ever so slightly in toward your chest. I'm going to start to breathe a little deeper maybe. Again, just noticing those sensations that are happening in the legs, the hips. Maybe even into the back of the chest, on your upper back where those shoulder blades sit. There's a lot of pressure there. So you're stimulating that little fascia tissue that wraps around the muscles behind there by pressing the scapula into them and then into the ribs that are behind that. Hopefully this feels good on the low back. It's more of a neutral position for that low back with your hips on the block. We have about 2 more minutes here. If you're finding it's too much effort to keep the legs up, you can always bend the knees and let those knees kind of come toward your chest and splay out. You can kind of do like a supported kind of half happy baby, half child's pose on your back. So that's an option if the legs being up is not feeling comfortable for you. And as always, if any pose is not feeling good in your body, you can always choose to skip it, come out of it, take a little shavasana. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly start to bring those knees back down, one at a time, feet to the floor. Pause there for a moment. And then press into the balls of the feet, lift the hips, slide the block out, slide the bolster out, let your hips come down to the floor. And pause there. If it feels good, do a little windshield wiper legs. Bring some movement into the body a little bit. We're going to come into a twist. We're going to start with dropping our knees over to the left. You might today want to either take a block, or I like to, instead of a block because it's nicer, take a pillow and place it between your knees. We're going to do two-legged twist. Shift your hips over to the right. Draw the knees up to the ceiling again, and then drop those knees over to the left. So that top knee has something to rest against. You might even need to fold the pillow or put a second pillow under there. Let that right arm open up. You might need to put a little pillow underneath that right arm to start. We just start to settle in here into the twist. Let the legs be heavy. Let the chest lift up to the ceiling. Let the shoulders be heavy. If it feels okay for that right arm, maybe that right arm reaches out to the right, or maybe even up above your head a little bit. You can always prop it up with a pillow if you need that, so it's not just suspended in space. It has a little bit of support. You can always take your left hand and rest it on the top of that right leg. So targeting the outer hip here, into the spine, and into the shoulder. If you want to target the neck a little bit more, you can look over the right shoulder. Otherwise, keep the chin lifted to the ceiling. Be mindful of any numbness that might start to happen in that right arm. Just allowing that elbow to kind of come more back down in line, either with the shoulder or below the shoulder. It's going to help with any pinching that's caused there. About 1 more minute here. Taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Slowly bring your arms back in toward your chest. And then slowly lift the right leg, then the left leg. Bring your hips back to center. Pause there for a moment. If you have a bolster or a pillow, rest it on your belly. Noticing the effects on the right side there. Legs can stay bent, or maybe you extend them, giving yourself a long stretch. Taking in any movements that you need to before the second side. And when you're ready, shifting to the other side, shift your hips to the left first slightly, and then placing whatever you need to between the knees, and then drop those knees over to the right. Settling in here, adjusting so you can open the chest. Notice if you need anything underneath that left shoulder to begin. And then start to open the chest, start to relax the legs. Lifting up the chest toward the ceiling as your chin lifts to the ceiling. Just notice the sensations going to your edge for your spine, your hip, maybe even the shoulder. So the arm can open to the side, maybe like cactus, maybe extends fully. Maybe it reaches overhead. That's going to be a little bit more pressure on the shoulder, so be mindful of that. And then that right hand can always press down and rest on top of that left knee. And start to settle into stillness here. Scanning the sensations in the body. Be mindful of any tingling or pain in the arm. Be mindful not to pinch any nerves that are running through the shoulder and out into the arm. And then if you do want to target the neck more, you can take the neck and turn the head more toward the left. You have about 1 more minute here. I'm taking a full inhale here. And let it go. Drawing those arms back down toward your sides. Drawing that left knee up to center, followed by the right knee. Bring those hips back to center. Allowing that, whatever you had between your knees, maybe laying across your belly, across your hips, pausing there for a moment with the knees bent. And then start to straighten those legs, reach the arms back behind your head. Give yourself a long stretch here. Maybe even rock the legs from side to side. Doing any movements that are going to feel good to you before we head into Shavasana. Taking any movements, maybe even placing a blanket over you, covering yourself up, covering your eyes, maybe propping underneath your knees. Whatever you need to feel comfortable and supported here. Allow yourself to take up a little bit more space. I'm going to take just a few moments in Shavasana here. Letting yourself surrender, keeping that awareness on the body, on what's happening, those sensations as your body starts to lengthen out into a more neutral position. Keeping that awareness in the body here with your breath. Maybe take a couple more cleansing breaths to allow yourself to settle into stillness, to allow your body and mind to just surrender, being here for a few more moments on your mat, or as long as you'd like. Try to stay present for a while. Just noticing those sensations. And taking your hands just for a moment, place them over your heart center. Thanking yourself for showing up to your mat. Thanking yourself for taking this time to take care of yourself. And thinking of one thing in your life that you truly are grateful for. I am grateful for each and every one of you tonight, making it to your mat on the screen, that dedication. I'm honored to be here for you, be here with you. Hold on to that image in your mind's eye as you take a big inhale here. Sigh it out. Allowing those arms to come back by your side. And surrendering here for as long as you need into Shavasana. I am going to say good night, goodbye. Drink lots of water, eat your veggies, wear sunblock. Namaste.